In a clip that's gone viral, MAGA's favorite podcaster, Joe Rogan, is once again publicly turning on Donald Trump, harshly condemning the cruelty and dishonesty of the ICE deportation regime, and going so far as to indicate that had Trump been honest with the American people about this before the election, he probably would have lost. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, got a couple of clips to play here of Joe Rogan, starting with the most recent one that's gone viral, and then we'll get into some pretty shocking research from the Cato Institute about who exactly Trump is deporting. Let's start with this one.
These ICE raids are fucking nuts, man. Watching this protest on television, it's like...
You think the raids are nuts?
All of it's
yeah.
nuts.
I think both sides are taking it a little too hard.
Well, I don't think if the Trump administration, if they're running and they said, we're going to go to Home Depot and we're going to arrest all the people at Home Depot, we're going to go to construction sites and we're going to just like tackle people at constructions. I don't think anybody would have signed up for that. They said, we're going to get rid of the criminals and the gang members first, right? And now we're seeing like Home Depots get raided. Like, that's crazy.
So yeah, harshly condemning the cruelty and the dishonesty of the Trump deportation regime and indicating that had they been running and told people the truth about what they were going to do, nobody would have signed up for it. In other words, that Trump would have lost the election. That's a pretty damning thing to come out of the mouth of Joe Rogan, who, of course, is MAGA adjacent. He's not full-blown MAGA himself, but he grades the Republicans on a curve. He grades Trump on a curve. He grades MAGA on a curve. He effectively endorsed Donald Trump for the last election. He is prone to right-wing conspiracy theories, and even Joe Rogan occasionally will be like, damn, this has gone way too far. This particular clip, though, has also come on the heels of a resurfaced clip from Joe Rogan years ago during Trump's first term. Okay, so this right here is not a recent clip of Joe Rogan, but it is once again circulating because Donald Trump was really cruel with respect to deportations and family separations in his first term. So none of what we're seeing now is totally unexpected. Anybody paying attention to Trump term 1 could have expected what we're seeing in Trump term 2. And so it's interesting, again, that Joe Rogan actually, during Trump term 1, criticized Trump's immigration and deportation policy then. He just appears to have forgotten all the principled objections he had with Donald Trump back then. But this clip is worth revisiting as well.
See a lot of people online talking about this immigrant issue, and they either don't have kids or they don't think it could happen to their kids. Their idea is, hey, shouldn't have fucking come over here. You get those kind of people. Broke the law. Shouldn't have fucking come over here if your kid, you didn't want to get your kid separated. If you were in the presence of a woman who came over here from Guatemala and she's poor and she's starving and they're taking her baby away and she's wailing and screaming from a primal place in her DNA that the one thing she loves more than anything is being taken away. A baby.
Yeah.
If that doesn't freak you the fuck out, you're not a part of the team, man. You're missing it. You're missing it. What are we here for? We're here for 100 years of whatever. That's what we're here for. If you want to spend 100 years saying, hey, she shouldn't have fucking broke the law, I don't want you on the team. You're an asshole. Right? And I don't give a fuck if you're right or left. I don't care if you're religious, or I don't care if you're an atheist. If that's what you support, you're an asshole. And we don't want you on our team. I don't give a fuck if they broke the law. You don't take parents and kids and separate them. You just fucking don't. It's disgusting. If you're saying, well, they shouldn't have broke the law. Maybe they shouldn't have broke the law. You don't get to do something that's 1,000 times worse than crossing a line in the dirt. That fucking imaginary line in the dirt, crossing that is nothing in comparison to your crime of stealing a baby from its mother. That's fucking insane.
So again, that's, Joe Rogan of 2017, 2018, apparently forgetting, again, all the principled objections he had with the Trump administration. So I hope he remembers this and recognizes, oh shit, the egregious excesses and the cruelty that we're seeing in Trump term 2 were entirely predictable if you paid attention to Trump term 1. And Joe Rogan is a powerful voice. He has a powerful platform, and hopefully he will start holding Democrats and Republicans to the same standard. And if he does, that's good news, because elected Republicans are morally and intellectually inferior to elected Democrats, much more cruel, much more authoritarian. And, a guy who, brands himself as empathetic and compassionate and liberty-loving, freedom-loving, then Joe Rogan, if he does that, will be naturally more inclined to support the Democrats because they represent those values much better. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely continue to track his journey and whether or not he continues to publicly criticize the Trump administration, which he should do more often. Now, in relation to this, let's take a look at some bombshell research from David J. Beyer of the libertarian right-wing Cato Institute. So this is from June 20th, okay? 65% of people taken by ICE had no convictions. 93% had no violent convictions, okay? Going along with exactly what Joe Rogan is talking about. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller obviously wants to get rid of anybody in this country who is not, a white Anglo-Saxon, right? I mean, if you are brown for any reason, if you go to the tanning bed too long, this guy wants to kick your ass out of this country because he's just that white nationalistic and xenophobic. He's a terrible person. Donald Trump doesn't have that same sort of ideological consistency, right? The sort of commitment to that sort of project, but he is a useful idiot for somebody like Stephen Miller. Either way, they are lying 100% about who they're deporting. So, new non-public data from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement indicate that the government is primarily detaining individuals with no criminal convictions of any kind. Also, among those with criminal convictions, they are overwhelmingly not the violent offenses that ICE continuously uses to justify its deportation agenda. ICE has shared this data with people outside the agency who shared the numbers with the Cato Institute. As of June 14th, ICE had booked into detention 204,000 individuals since October 1st, 2024, the start of fiscal year 2025. Of those book-ins, 65%, or 133,687 individuals, had no criminal convictions. Moreover, more than 93% of ICE book-ins were never convicted of any violent offenses. About 9 in 10 had no convictions for violent or property offenses. Most convictions, 53%, fell into 3 main categories: immigration, traffic, or nonviolent vice crimes. The appendix table at the end of this post has data by detailed crime and broad crime categorization. It goes by property, violent, nonviolent vice, immigration, traffic, other, none. None. ICE detains very few serious public safety threats. None is the single biggest, 65.4%. Staggering. You look at violent, property is 3.7, vice is 4.5, other is 5.6, violent is 6.9%, traffic is 6.9. They detain as many people who have a traffic conviction as a violent conviction. Stunning. Using public data from the Customs and Border Protection, which does not include details of criminal convictions, we can see the trend in ICE book-ins from the start of the Trump administration. During the first 2 weeks of June, ICE brought into its custody nearly 927 non-criminals. That represents a roughly threefold increase compared to the rate of non-criminals booked during the first week of this administration. The shift in policy resulted from White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller's meeting at the end of May, when he ordered ICE to start arresting more non-criminals. Quote, "What do you mean you're going after the criminals?" he said. Quote, "Why aren't you at Home Depot? Why aren't you at 7-Eleven? Since then, ICE and Border Patrol have shifted to roaming U.S. streets and workplaces to round up immigrants regardless of the public threat they may pose. This is stunning, okay? The data is there. They are not aligned with Trump's campaign promises, all right? They are aligned with the maximalist approach of Stephen Miller's agenda. They are more in line what ICE is doing, what Stephen Miller wants to do, which again is to basically get rid of any brown person in this country. That is why Joe Rogan is publicly speaking out against this. And then again, the real test is, will Joe Rogan's principled objections to the Trump administration compel him to say, you know what, damn it, I want to like Trump for various reasons, but shit, he just really is worse. He is worse on free speech. He is worse on immigration. He is worse on personal liberty. And so maybe I should start criticizing him more. That is what a principled nonpartisan would do. And we'll see what Joe Rogan does. But folks, there you have it. And the report from the Cato Institute, you definitely can check it out. It goes into vivid detail. Again, from June 20th, 65% of people taken by ICE had no convictions. 93% had no violent convictions. The data is there, and it undermines the narrative that Trump is trying to sell. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.